The dawn broke gently over the ancient highlands, casting long beams of golden light across rolling cliffs and rugged slopes. Mist drifted slowly along the edges of the rocks, curling around boulders like soft fabric. The land was quiet, touched only by the distant calls of early rising birds and the occasional rustling of leaves as small animals began their day. It was a peaceful morning in the late Jurassic, cool, bright, and filled with the steady rhythm of nature. From behind a cluster of stone outcrops, a Torvosaurus emerged. Tall, powerful, and steady in its movement, it carried the calm authority of a top predator at ease in its environment. Its scales glistened slightly where the morning sunlight touched them, revealing muted shades of earthy brown and grey, designed to blend perfectly with the rocky terrain. Torvosaurus paused for a moment, lifting its head to breathe in the crisp air. The wind carried the sense of distant plant life, damp earth, and the faint presence of other dinosaurs. None of it signaled danger, only life. The predator blinked slowly, its eyes adjusting to the growing brightness as it surveyed the landscape below. The highlands were breathtaking from this vantage point. Deep valleys stretched out in every direction, blanketed with dense forests and patches of open meadows. A narrow river glimmered far below, reflecting sunlight like a silver ribbon weaving through the land. The world felt vast, ancient, and full of quiet stories unfolding every moment. The rocky highlands gradually softened into a gentle slope, leading Torvosaurus toward a sprawling forest that stretched across the valley floor. Tall conifers stood like ancient pillars, their trunks straight and sturdy, their branches forming a thick canopy overhead. As the predator stepped onto the forest path, the air changed, cooler, quieter, filled with the earthy scent of pine needles and damp soil. The sunlight broke into scattered beams through the branches, illuminating patches of ferns and flowers along the ground. Torvosaurus slowed its pace as it entered the shaded environment. The forest was calm, almost serene. Every sound, every shift in the leaves, every flutter of wings echoed softly through the trees. Small insects buzzed near the bark of fallen logs. Tiny reptiles darted across the path, disappearing into the undergrowth in swift, graceful motions. Nothing here felt hurried or threatened. This was a place shaped by patience and time. The predator walked with measured steps, avoiding snapping branches beneath its weight. Though large, Torvosaurus understood its surroundings instinctively. It tilted its head slightly, observing the way sunlight danced across motes of dust drifting in the air. The calm of the forest settled into its movements, guiding it deeper among the towering trunks. A gentle breeze moved through the canopy, creating a soft whispering sound as branches rubbed against one another. Pine needles shook loose, floating silently to the forest floor. Torvosaurus paused to observe a group of small, feathered prehistoric birds perched on a fallen log. The birds chirped in delicate rhythms, hopping around as they searched for insects hidden in patches of moss. The predator watched them without aggression, simply as another part of the world it shared. Further along the path, the forest opened slightly, revealing a small clearing. Sunlight poured into the space like warm liquid, illuminating clusters of low-lying plants. Ferns unfurled their vibrant green fronds, and flowers with wide prehistoric petals added splashes of color to the otherwise muted forest palette. Torvosaurus stepped into the clearing and raised its head toward the light, allowing warmth to settle along its back and tail. As Torvosaurus continued along the winding forest path, the sky above began to shift. The once bright blue slowly faded into muted shades of silver and grey. A low rumble rolled across the highlands, echoing between the distant cliffs. Birds launched into the air with soft flutters, seeking higher branches as the atmosphere thickened with moisture. The world was bracing for rain. The first droplets fell lightly, tiny, almost hesitant taps against the leaves. Torvosaurus lifted its head, feeling the cool touch of the drops along its snout and brow. More followed, gathering momentum until a steady rainfall washed across the forest. The canopy caught most of it, but enough slipped through to create a gentle, rhythmic pattern on the ground. The predator moved forward, its steps slow and deliberate. The forest floor grew damp, softening under its weight. Every footstep pressed deeper into the soil, leaving clear, rounded impressions that filled quickly with rainwater. The scent of wet earth rose from the ground, mixing with the sharp freshness of pine and foliage. The forest felt alive and renewed with each passing second. Torvosaurus paused near a cluster of thick shrubs, watching the rain transform the landscape. Droplets clung to the edges of large fern leaves, gathering until they grew heavy enough to fall in shimmering beads. Streams of water slid down tree trunks, carrying loose bark and tiny particles of soil with them. The soft sound of rainfall created a peaceful harmony that echoed through the woods. Small animals reacted to the weather in their own ways. Feathered creatures shook water from their wings and huddled beneath branches. Tiny frogs peeked out from puddles forming near fallen logs, their eyes reflecting the soft light filtered through the clouds. Even the insects quieted, sheltering in the folds of leaves and the crevices of bark. A light breeze swept over the valley, carrying the crisp scent of wet earth and distant conifers. Torvosaurus paused, lifting its head to feel the wind brushing along its snout and neck. The breeze ruffled the small, fine proto-feathers that lined its back, creating a subtle ripple across its skin. The predator closed its eyes briefly, taking in the moment. The world smelled renewed, washed clean by the rain. Far across the valley floor, scattered rays of sunlight began to pierce the thinning clouds. The beams stretched like pale golden ribbons, illuminating patches of land where the storm had begun to retreat. Pools of water glowed softly, and gentle mist hovered above the ground, drifting like delicate threads just above the earth. Torvosaurus watched as the landscape slowly brightened with every passing minute.